MJD Beats.
Live on the National Sports Studios from Spreaker.com, you are listening to In the Paint with Jordan Hunter and your host, Cameron Sadeghi.
Welcome In the Paint. I am Cameron Sadeghi along with Jordan Hunter. We're going to have former NBA All-Star Kenny Anderson join us to talk about Game 2 of the NBA Finals, and the Miami Heat tie things up in San Antonio with the air conditioning on this time, and no cramp gate. That's what Jordan calls it. And the Heat get the victory tonight. So we'll have Kenny Anderson, I would say about like 13 minutes or 15 minutes from now. Jordan, what was your initial reaction when both LeBron and Wade were in attack mode early?
I think it was the right move. Because LeBron shot a lot of jumpers in Game 1. And it was good to see him come out aggressive in Game 2, and Wade also attack that San Antonio defense. And then you saw in the second half, LeBron opened it up with a flurry of jump shots, from the out of the arc, the mid-range. So I think he wanted to establish the inside game, and then he'd let the outside game come to him because they'd be playing off because they don't want him to drive on. They don't want him to drive to the basket. So I think it was a smart move by LeBron to solidify that inside game and then worked on the outside as the game went on.
Yeah, and LeBron had it going tonight with 35 and 10. He really had it going, and San Antonio, they played a great game. They only lost by 2, but unfortunately for them, they could not make the key plays down the stretch, but Miami was able to execute. I thought Wade also stepped up to the plate. I know he flopped early and tried to do the old pump fake. Let me lean into Danny Green and put up a bad shot, but still get to the free throw line, because we all know Dwayne Wade lives at the free throw line. He knows, and I know a lot of people hate Dwayne Wade, and I can kind of understand where the hate comes from. Dwayne Wade plays up to the rules. Like, he completely uses the rule book to his advantage, especially at his older age. And I thought we were turning back the clock to 2006 a little bit with his drives to the rim, and everybody was in attack mode. Even Ray Allen was in attack mode. And once they get into attack mode, all of a sudden they start getting open shots and ones. And they start getting to the free throw line, and it's almost impossible to stop Miami. San Antonio, they played great the entire game, but they just couldn't make enough plays at the end. What did you think was wrong with San Antonio?
Like you said, they played a great game. They only had 11 turnovers, opposed to their 23-1. So the turnovers weren't the issue. It was just, like you said, the lack of just looks at the basket. They had some threes. I just think Miami had outplayed them, and the advantage of having LeBron in down the stretch really made a big difference. Because with him, they double him, and then when they double him, the Spurs are in they're rattled and they're scrambling around, and that led to the Bosch dump off pass to Wade to put her up by 5. And I think the Spurs played a good game. It was just LeBron, he makes such a big difference for that team. If he wasn't in the game, I don't think there was a chance that the Heat could have won, because he demands so much attention. So I think the Spurs played a really good game, and I think they had a big contribution out of their big three. It was just the Heat. The Heat wanted it more. They were in desperation mode, opposed to the Spurs, who were kind of trying to take control of the series.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was kind of do or die for Miami. A lot of people, I heard some people say, "Oh, if Miami even loses this game, it really won't matter because they're going down. They'll still have a chance back at home, you know, for Miami." But I actually saw the opposite. Really, I thought I agree with you. Miami needed this so badly. They had to go for they had to put it all on the line because I don't care where you play against San Antonio when you're down 0-2, it's really hard to close the gap. It really is. It doesn't the Spurs, their game travels everywhere. They've proven they can win at any tough environment. So I don't really see home court advantage being as big of a deal as people are making it seem like.
So you think? So would you have the Spurs winning at least one in Miami, if not both?
I think they'll split. I think they'll split in Miami. I actually think the Spurs will win Game 3. Because I don't know if LeBron can put up, and look, I'm a pretty big LeBron fan, but I don't think he can put up that type of shooting display again. I know he got to the rack early, but when he starts making, those tough jump shots that he took, and usually he doesn't take those type of shots, it's really hard to replicate a performance like that. The way he just completely, he physically imposed his will on the game. I mean, that against San Antonio, that's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, he was soaring up in the air, grabbing boards, banging on the inside, which we didn't see that a lot in Game 1. He was kind of shying away from the basket, feeling out the game, taking jump shots. So yeah, I also think Miami will win one at home, and San Antonio might get the other. I don't know whether it's Game 3. I have a feeling it could be Game 4 though. I have a feeling that Miami feels that the momentum is kind of shifted towards them, and I think they can pull out Game 3 at home with their rowdy crowd, with their crowd that wants to leave early, wants to say, "Oh, the game's over. Let me just get out of here. Let me beat the traffic home." But I think I still think this series could go to 6, though. I really do.
I don't see that happening. I just... Look, you have to... This is the thing. I know I just contradict... I'm going to probably contradict myself because I said LeBron can't replicate another performance like this. I don't think even the best could. Michael or whoever you want to put as the greatest in the category. I don't think that you can replicate another performance like LeBron just had, but I can't imagine, the Spurs ending it that fast. Because today I saw some matchup issues, again, with Bosh, and the reemergence of Chris Bosh is really, it's going to be hard for San Antonio because they're not going to be able to protect the interior and contain LeBron and Wade if they're going to have to worry for Bosh, being another perimeter playmaker. And we saw that today in this game. So, again, you have to factor that in. You also have to factor in, Ginobili, it's like he kind of went back a little bit today. He was pressing too much. He got a little bit careless at the end on a few possessions.
Yeah, he tends to get back to that careless way that we saw last finals, the last year. And for them to be successful against this team and win another trophy, he has to not be able to be careless because he handles the ball a lot down the stretch. Tony Parker kind of plays off the ball, and if he's gonna have weight on him, who's gonna be flopping every 5 seconds, and saying he got hit in the face when Ginobili didn't even touch him. But Ginobili has to take care of the ball. I think you're right. He has to be the type of the playmaker. He has to be the floor general. Even though he's a shooting guard, he's still. I don't know. I think I understand why they have him bring up the ball and control the ball most of the time because of his playmaking abilities. But sometimes you just gotta get the ball out of his hands because he just makes some bad mistakes sometimes.
Yeah, I thought Miami did a pretty good job too containing the pick and roll with him because he wasn't able to get in the lane. I thought he really had to swing it back and reverse the ball instead of trying to make a play, and that really neutralized Ginobili. I thought the way they trapped the pick and rolls with him, and they didn't give him an angle to hit the roll man. So I think, Miami did a good job defensively, but the one thing I'm a little concerned with in regards to Miami is the lack of bench production, in my opinion. I don't think Birdman really put an imprint on this game. And I'm not saying points, I'm saying defensively, because if Birdman cannot make a huge impact and challenge shots at the rim, the Spurs can easily score at will, and Birdman's going to have to find a way to have a much larger impact by challenging shots at the rim.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. So what kind of approach do you see the Spurs and the Heat taking in Game 3 in Miami?
Oh, man, I think you look at Miami, and I think you just have to continue riding with Wade and James going to the rim and then playing off of that. If you're San Antonio, I think honestly, I would go away from the post touches with Duncan. I know that seems radical, but I heard Jeff Van Gundy say that when you get it into the post, the ball movement stops and the cutting stops. So honestly, if I'm San Antonio, I actually put it more in Parker's hands to create for the offense instead of going into Duncan continuously, because I think they become a little too methodical, and that's where Miami can really pack the paint.
So you're saying you kind of let Parker, get to the basket, and if he sees Duncan open because, the help comes over, then you dump it off to him rather than. So you don't want him taking Rashard Lewis in the post?
You know what? It did work, and I'm taking this from Jeff Van Gundy. I have to credit him. He made a really good point. I just think, especially at Duncan's age, if you give him 20 post touches, can he give you a lot of production? I don't know. Even I know he's the big fundamental, but I feel like Miami's defense does better when the ball is stopped and it sticks, and that's where they can collapse and they get the hand in the passing lane. But when all of the sudden the ball starts rotating, LeBron's gonna have to chase Kawhi for three, Diaw, Lewis has to chase Diaw for three. It just starts to become a mess for Miami, and I think San Antonio is at its best when they play from the perimeter.
So you kind of want San Antonio to approach the game kind of the way they did in the fourth quarter of Game 1, where there was a lot of ball movement, a lot of corner threes.
Yeah.
Even though, Pop says he hates threes. It's like cheating, but, he said you can't win without them. But, yeah, I could see kind of also how they took to last year's final approach in the first 4 games when Danny Green was just red hot.
Yeah, I agree with the 3-point. I understand what you're saying by the 3-point thing and what Pop's saying. We should give a little bit of credit to Miami for this sense that they ran Danny Green off the 3-point line, and we kind of saw that with Game 7 last year, where Danny Green was kind of ineffective because he was ran off the 3-point line, and that's really what occurred for Miami. Miami was able to run off the 3-point shooters and force Green to be a playmaker, and if they are able to do that, can they do it for 3 straight games? No. Can they do it for 3 more games? That's a huge question mark. I mean, that's asking a lot from Miami to do. What do you think about this series? You still think it's going to end in 6?
No, I think there's a possibility, but you never know. You never know what goes down in the NBA. There's some we've seen some crazy things. It could go 6, but I don't know. San Antonio could get game 3. Miami could get game 4. Then San Antonio could win the last 2 straight. I think it could go 7. I like San Antonio in this series for some reason. Maybe it's that extra game at home. I don't know.
You know what? This team, and I know this is really corny every time I go back to this because people think it's ridiculous that I compare this Miami Heat team currently to the 1998 Bulls. I just love going back to that because a lot of people counted out the 1998 Bulls. Well, let's be honest, they did. I would say most of the NBA fan base thought, okay, Utah, this is their time. They're fresh. They are motivated. They have everything. They have the players, the system. Chicago's worn down. Pippen can barely get up and down the floor, just similar to Wade. Rodman has to play out of his mind. Jordan has to play out of his mind. To me, it reminds me of those times, and I just the will of Jordan and the will of LeBron, I think, will barely carry Miami through. It also is similar to you could say the Lakers in 2009, actually 2010 against the Celtics. Kobe just outwilled the Celtics, and I feel like that's just on the rise here. That's what I feel for Miami.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with those comparisons, but I just think you're not giving the Spurs enough credit. One thing they have to do, one thing they have to do to really take this series is they have to get a better production from their bench. And I'm not talking just Ginobili. I'm talking Boris Diaw needs to continue to produce on defense, on offense with his passing. Patty Mills has to be that scorer, that shooter that he was during the season and off the bench all season long. I think then maybe bring Bellinelli off the floor. I know he hasn't played a whole bunch this series. He only played 22 minutes today, but I just think their bench has to produce. They need to get, because their bench is better than the Heat's bench. I think that's a fact that we all know. The Heat don't have the strongest bench, and they bring off Ray Allen, Haslam, Chris Anderson, and Norris Cole. And I think when LeBron and Wade and Bosh are on the bench, that's when San Antonio has to take advantage, has to get out on a run and make the Heat starters work their way back against the Spurs starters, and make it always so it seems that Miami is trying to fight their way back. Whether San Antonio has to get out to an early lead, or like we saw in the fourth quarter of Game 1, have a huge fourth quarter run and go nearly perfect from the field. So I think the bench is going to be key for San Antonio the next 3 or 4 games.
I agree with you. Like, in regards to people saying San Antonio is a favorite, I actually see them as a clear favorite. But,
a clear favorite?
Well, in a way, because look, I'm using. So you know what? I'm really using gut feeling. I'm not really an educated guess. It's San Antonio, but gut feeling tells me Miami. In the '98 championship, educated guess was the Jazz, but the gut told some people the Bulls. It's like, unfortunately for San Antonio, is they don't have the best player in the world, and you know what? They could completely change all of our minds with their ball movement, but I don't know how they're going to be able to contain LeBron, because you have to pick your poison. Are you going to let him shoot jumpers? Are you going to go under screens? Well, he's proven he can do it. Are you going to let him go to the basket? Of course not. That's the one thing you don't want. And then, if you double team him, you know he's going to make the passes. Or if you do load up the paint, you know he's going to kick it out for three. You know he's going to make the smart basketball play. So it's like, how do we, first of all, contain this guy offensively? And how are we going to win? The one thing you could say, though, is if San Antonio is able to force LeBron to keep moving, and that's why the ball movement's so important. Instead of going into Duncan, you need to challenge LeBron on defense so he wears out on the other end. So I think if San Antonio is able to wear down LeBron on the defensive end, where San Antonio can get the ball movement, all of a sudden now LeBron doesn't have the energy to carry his team through.
Yeah, so that's the way you say that they were able to stop LeBron, right?
Yeah, I just think if you can't stop him. First of all, you can't double team him. You can't go under screens. You definitely do not want him going to the basket. So the only other way is to just go to set screens on him, to continuously cut and move and force him to play defense every single possession. That's really what you want if you're San Antonio.
Yeah, maybe they look back to Game 5 of the Pacers Heat series and saw what the Pacers were able to do to get LeBron in that foul trouble, to keep him on the bench. Because if you saw that game, LeBron was continuously on the bench in foul trouble. He'd come in for a few minutes, like in the first quarter. In the second quarter, he'd come in, pick up that third foul, would be sitting for the rest of the second quarter, which allowed Indiana to jump on the Heat, who were so vulnerable without their star player. Same thing in the third quarter. LeBron starts the third quarter, comes in, picks up his fourth foul, is forced to sit. So if the Spurs can find a way, whether it's Kawhi or Danny Green or on a Parker switch where LeBron's on Parker, they need to find a way to get LeBron to foul him and get their guys to the line, because or any of the big three to get in foul trouble, because they're all so valuable. Another thing, they cannot let those unexpected guys go off. They can't let guys like Rashard Lewis, or whether it's or Chris Anderson, who could, or Norris Cole could have a big game. Maybe Ray Allen. They can't, because Rashard Lewis had 14 points tonight, which is that's a huge game for him. Two threes. He loves those corner threes. But so I think if they can make the game about the big three only, I think that's their best chance to win.
I agree with you on what you have to say there. In the paint, we're trying to get Kenny Anderson on. I don't know where you are, Kenny. I tweeted him, I direct messaged him. He hasn't responded. I told him, please come on. 8:15. It's 8:25, and he hasn't come on yet. We'll keep hoping that he comes on in, but before he comes on in, I have to tell you about a huge fan of this show. His name is Josiah Delatorre, and he even gave us a YouTube comment. I'll read that first, and he wrote some rap for us, a LeBron remix. He supposedly is a LeBron hater and a Laker fan, so... Yeah, and he talks about how much he loves Jordan Hunter on the show. He keeps... Anytime I show any of the videos video. Lakers will win the championship. Kevin Love and the GOAT Kobe. Criticize me anyway, so let me go ahead and read your LeBron remix here. Okay, brace yourselves, everybody. LeBron better lose himself in the moment. He never wants to let it go. He only has one chance. Dwayne's knee is probably gonna blow. This opportunity only worked for MJ and Kobe. Oh, there goes his championship. Oh, there goes his three-peat. Oh, there goes his legacy. Oh, there goes Pat Riley. Okay, Josiah, Jordan loves what you have to say. I am still angry that he wrote this rap in science, okay? Josiah, come on. Just come on. So, shout out to Josiah.
That was good.
Yeah, so, he wants to come on our show and he wants to be a part of our show. I told him, yeah, come on, let's all of us debate. He wants to debate about how Kobe will go down as the greatest player of all time and how Kobe is going to win next year's MVP and finals MVP. I think that's just beyond ridiculous, but he really believes in what he has to say. He thinks he's going to surpass Michael Jordan.
Oh.
Now you disagree. Now you disagree. Alright, we're getting Jordan back on. We've had some technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Jordan?
Yeah, I think we got disconnected.
Yeah, we're back on. So what were you gonna say about Josiah's love for Kobe Bryant?
Hey, that's cool loving Kobe. I love Kobe too. But to say he's going to win MVP is out of the question. We already know the two front runners, LeBron and Kevin Durant. You know, Chris Paul might be there, Joakim Noah. But, because I think, like I said, I think he'll average 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, maybe a little less on the points. Finals MVP, I don't even know if they'll be able to get to the finals. Their team is just so... I think the Lakers are probably in one of the worst situations because they're not missing one or two guys. They're missing a whole team. We have we have 3 guys under contract. Kobe Bryant, broken down Steve Nash, and Robert Sacre. Those are only 3 guys under contract. Nick Young isn't under contract. We'll hope to re-sign Nick Young, and we don't know about Pau Gasol. And then we have a lot of little 1-year contracts that we signed. Xavier Henry, Wes Johnson, Kendall Marshall, Farmar. So hopefully we're able to bring back Farmar, and Xavier Henry was good too. So if we can get a big name free agent, that'd be good. But I feel for us to be able to get a big name free agent, we'd have to get rid of that 7th pick, which I'm fine with if we're able to get someone really good. But I don't even know if the Lakers can make the playoffs this year with the teams that are currently in the West, because the West is so tight. If you didn't make the playoffs, like if you're a team like the Suns, maybe you'll make it. But if you're a team like the Lakers, who were so far from making the playoffs, because you got to think, Spurs are going to be there, most likely going to be there. The Thunder, the Clippers, the Rockets, hopefully the Trailblazers.
The Suns will get there.
The Suns, okay, that's 6. The Mavericks, I'm going to put a question mark on them.
Yeah.
Memphis, I'm going to put a question mark on them.
Well, maybe Josiah's making a good point now.
But you got to think of teams like Denver.
Yeah.
Denver could easily have a resurgence if they bring back Lawson, they bring back Gallinari, Nate Robinson. That's a decent team. But I don't think just adding Kobe would make them significantly better to jump from 14th in the West to say 8th. I think they're a couple pieces away, whether it's a draft pick and a second tier player, kind of like that Zach Randolph status, maybe someone like that. I think we can easily get someone from free agency. Maybe get someone who wants like a 2-year, $20 million contract. Another guy who wants a 3-year, $30 million contract. Because you only have about $23 in cap space. So I don't know if we use that to sign someone to a $20 million contract or a couple 10 years. So Josiah, Kobe has, 1 more year left? So, was it one? Yeah, this is his second. No, 2 more years left. He has 2 more years left, so hopefully he can get it done and bring 1 more ring home to his family to make it 6 and to be named one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest.
Oh, God. All right. Again, okay. We also, you mentioned Denver. I was going to say Utah for a second, and then I caught myself. But I was going to say the Pelicans.
Oh, the Pelicans too, yeah.
If you have a healthy Drew Holiday, they were on their way to the playoffs.
And Ryan Anderson.
Yeah.
Time. You're definitely right. Their team was filled with talent, but just the injury bug bit that team hard. They bit that Pelicans hiney hard. And the Timberwolves, another team with a lot of good talent. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they package a little deal. Maybe they send Love to come bring him to Sacramento in exchange for Rudy Gay and the number 8 pick. I don't know.
It would be fun and entertaining with Shaq being the great mentor that he is for Sacramento, and maybe opening up more commercial opportunities for Kevin Love. Instead of the Gold Bond commercial, Shaq, maybe give it to Kevin Love. Stop trying to fit yourself in the Buick. Let Kevin Love do it. No more Chinese beer commercials. Let Kevin Love do it. Again, I think Shaq could make Kevin Love into one of the most marketable athletes ever in the history of the NBA. But, again, what about that pick and pop with Isaiah Thomas Jr. and Kevin Love? I mean, could that get you to an 8th seed?
Yeah, I think a team with Kevin Love, DeMarcus, and Isaiah, that could be a playoff team. But then again, you have that lack of bench and other talent other than that. Because look at Carl Landry, Jason Thompson. If they don't send their number 8 pick, whoever that will be. So they're not really talented besides those 3. And, this is saying Isaiah isn't offered a huge deal by another team, and the Kings just don't match it. And this is they're a team with question marks. Rudy Gay, does he opt out of his contract and become an unrestricted free agent and sign a deal with someone else, or does he opt in, take his $19 million, and become a restricted free agent, kind of leashed by the Kings? Restricted free agents, you can do a lot less with them as you can do with an unrestricted free agent. So that's also in play for the team. The new arena, DeMarcus Cousins, whether he's gone crazy or something,
You know what? This may be the craziest thing that I've ever said on the show. I have some weird feeling that DeMarcus Cousins could come to the Lakers.
But he's on a 4-year deal. You think?
No. I think he's going to want out. And they're going to be forced to request a trade because I don't think he's that happy. I mean, I know you could say that about anybody. No one wants to play on a bad team. I get it. But his outbursts, I feel like he's going to explode at one point. I mean, there's no way, more like implode. I think there's no way that DeMarcus can give you more years if he's going to take more losing like this.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions.
Oh.
What team that didn't make the playoffs this year, besides the Suns, do you think was going to have the quickest turnaround? Meaning, which team besides the Suns that did make the playoffs, you think will make the playoffs this year, next season?
Oh man, you know what? I think you got two teams. I'm going to go with different conferences. First one, I think this is kind of the easier one, and the Pelicans. I think they really. Again, health was an issue, but I saw them at the Staples Center. Their talent is right up there. The Pelicans, they can really hang with other teams. Their youth, their talent, and I think they have enough scoring to get them to the playoffs. And then you look at a team like Orlando. I think you have a pretty good young core, and whatever they can do in the draft, if they hit some if they get a huge pick in the draft, I think that could really get them to the playoffs. This team has what it takes, and I know you laugh at me, but he's almost like a mini Scottie Pippen. I'm not saying he's like Scottie Pippen, but Tobias Harris, he can lock down people. You got Oladipo, you have everything that you can ask for in Orlando, and I think Jacque Vaughn is the coach that you can really look to in desperate times, and I think this team really is on the rise. And are you just talking about teams that didn't make the playoffs or just teams in general?
I was talking about teams that didn't make the playoffs.
All right, well, those are my teams.
You think Orlando can make the playoffs?
Well, yeah, I mean, Cleveland's just been completely collapsing. I don't see the Knicks going to the playoffs. I mean, somebody has to get the playoffs, so maybe Philadelphia can hit the draft and do something crazy. I don't know, maybe Lance Stevenson and Hibbert can come to Philly and then try to make some magic and dance in the arena. I think that could be a good option, but I think the safest one, the safest bad one, if that makes any sense, is Orlando.
Do you think, like, this is a trade I just thought of, like Aaron Aflalo to Charlotte for Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and like Josh McRoberts? Do you think both teams would agree to that, or is that a little light on the Charlotte side?
No, I think that's light because I think Aflalo really gives them a lot. I really do. I think Aflalo's that veteran rock that gives you just so much on both ends of the floor. I think Kidd-Gilchrist is a huge wild card, and I don't think McRoberts can. I don't know if he has the lifespan to help you out in the future long term. I think Aflalo really should stay, and I think it could ruin team chemistry if you go with Kidd-Gilchrist and McRoberts, because we all know McRoberts loves getting to the rim and completely taking over the offense.
Yeah, and what about a team what team do you think that has the best chance, that was in the cellar this year, to stay there? One from each conference.
That was, say that again? Like,
that was in the bottom of their conference, like 13th, 14th, 15th from either side. Or 12th, one include Boston.
I don't know. I think one of the... I have some, like, weird feeling. Again, another gut feeling again. This is like the gut feeling show with me. Everything is becoming gut feeling with me. I think Kevin Love is going to go to a horrible team. Like a team that was in the 13, 14, 15, 12, 13, 14, 15 range. A lot of people are saying Boston. Some people are even saying Sacramento can use him as a rental. Some people think Milwaukee can maybe magically with the Giannis Antetokounmpo and Ersan Ilyasova, Brandon Knight, big three, that they can make magic happen with a really good draft pick. But I don't really see a team that far down making a huge impact. I mean,
no, not like that. A team that is that far down that stays down.
Utah is gonna definitely stay down, in my opinion. Actually,
if I'm Gordon Hayward, I leave now. I try to get out of there somehow. I don't know how, but get out of there. He's too good of a player to be wasting his good years on such a bad team with Trey Burke. Probably gonna hoist about 25 shots. John Lucas III trying to square up against Francisco Garcia.
that team's so much fun though. It just like I'll give Utah some credit. They have a lot of fight in them. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen some bad teams before, and you could even go back to this year's Philly team, or you could even go to the Bobcats team that that had the worst winning percentage, and it just seemed like they didn't even play hard, okay? With Utah, it looks like they at least play hard, so you have to give them a lot of credit for that. And, again, Utah, I agree with you. How do you build a team, I think, with Favors and Cantor? I love Cantor, but sometimes he comes off as a goofball, like in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
And he's out of control, in my opinion, in some games.
Yeah, they have the 6th pick, so, the big names, Exum, Embiid, Wiggins and Parker will be gone. Maybe they look at Aaron Gordon to spark it up. Maybe they put Gordon Hayward at the shooting guard and put Aaron Gordon at the small forward and let him just dunk his way to all-star status.
Hey, Utah needs more highlight mixtapes. They really do.
I can see him in a Jazz uniform. Maybe they pick up Noah Vonleh from Indiana and let him develop off the bench behind Favors and Cantor the way they did behind Millsap and Al Jefferson a couple of years ago.
I mean, I agree. Good points there. Actually, in this mock draft I'm looking at, Vonleh is going to Utah. Well, in the mock draft, they think he's going to Utah. I think Utah will stay down. But who do you think? What do you think about the Knicks? And I know they're to me, the Knicks and the Lakers are in the same spot, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And wait, say that again?
I just wanted to say about what you said about the teams having no fight. I think this year a lot of teams had fight. Like, you don't see teams like Boston was competitive a lot. Orlando was always competitive.
Yeah.
Milwaukee tried to stay close in games as long as they could. Philly did. Lakers just kind of laid down and let teams stomp all over them.
Not really.
You don't think they did? Like, they didn't. Like, I saw a lot of Laker games. A lot of them were getting blown out. Like,
no.
The Clippers games are just hard to watch. Lakers-Clippers were just very hard to watch.
Well, I thought they were I thought the Lakers were somewhat entertaining compared to Utah. I mean, at least they could get up and down the floor and put up 110 and then give up 145. I mean, that was kind of entertaining.
I had so much hell for that. I come to school the next day. Lakers, it was a Laker against Denver game on Sunday night. Lakers, they lost about 125 to 145. And like, really? You gave up 145 points? Like, you look up, Lakers at 125, but they give up near 150. It's just...
The classic one was the Houston game without Dwight Howard.
That game was just back and forth. I'm just going to pull up from three. Nick Young just going to cross people over. Harden's going to let him go by. That Olay defense.
Oh, God. And then they needed Ashik Ashik was the only player who decided to play defense that day. And Harden just loves to pull up 5 feet beyond the three-point line and then do that crazy, ridiculous celebration that he does every trip down.
We know you. We all know you dislike Harden. You think he's overrated.
No, I like him, but I don't. To me, I've always thought the two most overrated players superstars, and this is, going to come out as outlandish, but I don't think Kyrie Irving and James Harden can be championship-defining players. I don't think their skill set fits of the playoff grind, in my opinion. They need to change their games in order to fit the playoff grind. I think every single year, James Harden and Kyrie Irving should co-MVP the All-Star game. Because their game fits the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Harden gives it to you defensively. I don't think Irving does either. I think Irving struggles with passing out of double teams, similar to Harden. I don't think Harden realizes that Howard is the number one option.
Oh my God.
He is the number one. Even Josiah disagrees with me. Howard is the number one option in Houston.
But they got him to compliment Harden.
No, then they're not going to win a championship. They'll come close, but they won't.
So we went over this last week.
We need to keep going over this because. Okay, I want you to answer this. Game 6 against Portland. That fourth quarter, Dwight Howard was incredible. Even, I know you're not a Dwight Howard fan, but he, dropped 15 straight points easily in the fourth quarter. And then, Harden doesn't play defense at the end for the 3, and they lose. Right? And people put the blame on Howard still. How is that okay?
You're right. It isn't, but I think they're just... here's what I think. I think it is the organization, the city, the NBA, just... The 2012-2013 season, I think everyone that has to do with basketball fell in love with Harden in Houston. It's just, he's coming from Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah.
He was coming from OKC. It's his breakout year. And, he was put... I remember one game against Detroit, he must have put up like 39. And I think everyone fell in love with him, fell in love with his beard, his way. And I think that just got the organization to say, hey, let's add Dwight Howard and keep it going. Because the way they saw him and Ashik play, and it's like, hey, maybe this could work. And they tried to do the same thing with Dwight, but Dwight is a more complete player.
I think, to me, and people are comparing this to Kobe and Shaq, and Josiah compares it to Kobe and Shaq a little bit too. He wants Harden and Howard to go after each other's throats, which I don't want to see happen. I want Harden to conform. But I don't think, by any means, I don't think Harden is a selfish player. Okay? I just think he's so used to the score-first mentality that he doesn't recognize that, I can understand what you mean by Howard being the second option, but you have to make him a threat. The key possessions in the fourth quarter, you cannot have Harden, last 2 minutes, start dancing. Howard just has to stand there. He doesn't even post up. He doesn't even move to position himself for rebounding. They don't even do that. It's just all standing around, and it's so easy for the defense to rotate. Howard all of a sudden becomes a weak link because Harden then over-dribbles the clock. So I think it's really unfair. To me, it just fits Houston's style of play with the three-point shooting that they have to go through Howard first.
Yeah, it's because, Harden, he was in OKC, came off the bench, was able to do whatever he wanted when Westbrook and Durant sat, and just go off for the 35 minutes a game he played.
Yeah.
And it's kind of say Chris Paul got injured for the Clippers and Jamal Crawford had to start. I feel if that happened, he'd be the main guy. He'd be going up and down, and at times they'd forget about Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
So it's kind of Harden was a six-man first couple years, and now he's transitioned to being not only a scorer, but the primary playmaker, because, Beverly's not really a playmaker, and I don't think he's adopted that yet, being able to be the playmaker of the team and get Dwight Howard in the spots he like, and, if Dwight kicks it out, be able to shoot the three, not want to take someone one-on-one ISO and take a step back to make him fall,
I think Harden's not patient sometimes. I think he, similar to, who's a really good, okay, this is a good example. Similar to Russell Westbrook and Durant, they want to take over because they have so many good intentions, Westbrook, Durant, Harden, where they just kind of forget that they need to make it easier for themselves. And I think Harden will realize that. I really do. I don't know how long it's going to take, but let me tell you this. Once they realize it, I think they're an immediate finals team, because the Rockets have one thing that no team has: a power center, a back to the basket center, and no other team has that, and they can utilize that.
Well, yeah, but what about Big Al and guys like Big Al, DeMarcus?
But they don't. I don't think they. Well, Al Jefferson had a huge impact, but let's be honest. Al Jefferson got 30 post touches a game. And Dwight, not even close to that number. So, I think if you increase the post touches, all of a sudden Dwight Howard becomes, the superstar, and he gets 28 and 15 and basically tells Shaq to shut your mouth. I think Shaq needs to realize that this is just like when he played with Kobe. Kobe struggled to pass inside to Shaq early on. But once Phil came and once Kobe became patient, they started to win championships. It's the exact same thing. And what do you think? First of all, we were talking about Kobe. What do you think about Smush Parker getting mad at Kobe and saying, Kobe would never even talk to me in practice because he said, you do not have the accolades to even talk to me?
That's... I don't see Kobe saying something like that, but at the same time, I kind of do, if that makes sense. That's something he would say, but I don't think Kobe would say something unless he feels the person has a threat, and Smush certainly was no threat. At least, to Kobe, but it's like how Mark Jackson said he doesn't get how Kobe not talking to Smush makes Kobe a jerk, but Duncan not talking to Ginobili and Parker makes him like a great teammate, or being shy, or kind of letting the young guys kind of find themselves first. I don't know. Smush hates Kobe. Maybe he's just saying this to get back in the media. Maybe just to get noticed. I don't know if he's been working in the gym like Gilbert Arenas.
Oh God.
Maybe he's just trying to get some play so he can. Maybe he's making a comeback.
Maybe he is with Terrence Ross, Boogie Cousins, DeMarcus. Maybe he is with Baron Davis is getting in the gym lately. He needs to put the donut down and get in the gym. Okay.
He's only 30. He's only 34 years old. 33 years old.
You know what we need to do? We need to bring this up on our Facebook group page, and our In the Paint group page. Who will make a comeback? And we will have 5 options: Baron Davis, Gilbert Arenas, Smush Parker. Who else? Javaris Crittenton, And I don't think the NBA will ever allow Javaris Green to be back. No way, but I think it's just entertaining. And maybe Latrell Sprewell.
No, isn't he super old?
But maybe he can pull a Dennis Rodman. I mean, Dennis Rodman played at the CBA when he was like 40 years old.
Latrell's like 40, 44, 43 actually.
Oh, that's a good point.
Maybe like a
Grant Hill or Tracy McGrady.
Yeah, Tracy McGrady probably because he's got that baseball thing and Skeeters going on.
Hey, at least he's getting himself in shape. I mean, some of these guys, I've seen some Gilbert. Have you seen the Gilbert dribbling drills that he's been doing in the gym? Oh, you have?
Mhm.
Yeah, he's been doing so well in the gym lately. I mean, he's even competing with Terrence Ross. I mean, that's pretty impressive for a guy like Gilbert to get in the gym. But he needs to bring his friend Baron Davis into the gym, and they need to start doing more dribbling drills and taking more threes. And
Oh, what about Rip Hamilton, a guy like him? You see him making a comeback?
Rip Hamilton?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know. That's a good. I don't know. He hasn't really expressed that much interest to come back. I haven't really heard much about him making, a comeback.
Yeah. But yeah, Gilbert needs to maybe I don't know who needs to call. Maybe Mello, someone Barron played with. Say Barron, get off your lazy butt. Stop watching Dancing with the Stars, and come with us and come to the gym and get back because he was a good player, and I know ever since that injury he just didn't come back and play.
Yeah, and do you also think he ate his way out of New York?
Cause that injury he had was that back injury that was serious.
Yeah, that was.
He had to get taken out on the stretcher, and I think his rehab didn't go the way he wanted it to. He didn't. He was too tempted by I'm sitting here can't go to practice, so let me just let me have a slice of pizza. let me have a prime rib. Let me order some takeout Chinese food.
Okay.
Let me grill some bacon or something. And that just got too tempting, and he just said, "Hey, I'm this big. I'm done. I don't think there's a way he can come back." And then next thing you know, he's on Grantland with Steve Nash.
Yeah, and he's also with Vince Giannini, Rick Kamla, Matt Weiner, talking about how great these point guards are. But let me ask you this. Baron Davis, I kind of thought about this. How well do you think Baron Davis would do for Indiana? Because he could have a huge impact if he's in shape.
If he's in shape, and obviously he's older, so he can't be back to his normal form.
For one run, just one championship run.
I think he could be. Well, Indiana's so sporadic with their lineup. A lot of teams are. Like the Spurs keep. They tend to keep their guys consistent with who plays. But Indiana one night, Evan Turner will play. They really only had like two guys to consistently come off the bench in C.J. Watson and Luis Scola and Mahimi. That's three. But I think Baron Davis could possibly have an impact. Maybe knock down some shots, play some solid defense on the opposing backup point guard. I think he'd be good for a team that's trying to make that's desperate like the Pacers are, who are, and this is in quotes, built for the championship, built as the Heat Busters, like the Brooklyn Nets were built to beat the Heat. That was also in quotes. Maybe he can go to Brooklyn.
Wow. I just would love to see Gilbert go to, and this is another guy too, Gilbert going to Indiana and trying to take shots away from both Evan Turner and Lance Stevenson. I would love to see that. I think that would just be pure entertainment. Like, you can't get any better entertainment paying for an NBA ticket than seeing Gilbert Arenas and Lance Stevenson going after each other.
Yeah, I see Gilbert Arenas having a bigger impact than Baron Davis, just because, Agent Zero knocked down the shot from anywhere. Because Baron was a better point guard. I'll say that, but Gilbert could just flat out score. That's why if you're getting up there in age, Gilbert kind of is, but you can still shoot the basketball. Like look at Ray Allen. He's still effective even though he's at an age he is. But I think Gilbert could easily be a backup point guard on a good NBA team.
Okay, honestly, let's think about this. If you're Gilbert and you have a chance to win a championship or maybe inflate your stats and be in Hall of Fame contention, what would you do? Would you play for Utah or would you want to play for Indiana and maybe get to the finals?
I think Gilbert knows he's not going to the Hall of Fame.
Are you sure about that? I think he has some chip on his shoulder.
No. I know the Hall of Fame just letting anyone walk through nowadays. Oh, sure, you want a championship? Sure, go ahead, walk through. But I don't think Gilbert's qualified yet.
You don't think so? If he drops...
I really don't. Like, if he was part of a championship run, maybe. But... And I don't know how much he could do on a bad team. I don't think...
Oh, he could do a lot.
You think? Because, like, all these bad teams have established young guards. Philly has Mike Carter-Williams. Milwaukee has Brandon Knight. I don't think he can beat out Brandon Knight. Utah has Trey Burke. Maybe you take him to L.A. and you let him just shoot bombs with Nick Young.
No, okay, let's also think about some other bottom teams. I'm trying to help out Gilbert here. I want him to inflate his stats and just completely rip apart the league. I want him to defy all odds right now.
Oh, God.
And if I'm Gilbert's agent, let's look at these teams. I'm really looking at Orlando. I'm really looking at... Wow, this is tough. I'm looking at...
Boston, maybe?
Maybe. I don't think he'll want to be a six man.
I don't think Gilbert Arenas starts it. I think...
On any NBA team?
I'll say like 90% of the NBA teams, I don't think he starts. None of the 8 playoff teams he starts.
Well, okay, I'm saying the bottom teams.
The bottom teams?
What about the Knicks?
Maybe he can start in Orlando. Because they want to get Victor Oladipo to play his more natural shooting guard position. Because he has to play point guard sometimes, and maybe he beats out Jameer Nelson.
I think he can. I really do. And Gilbert can rip apart the league and get them to an 8th seed, and maybe go against a Miami team and make it really competitive. I don't think Chalmers can hang with Gilbert. I don't know. I just see Gilbert turning the clock back and dropping 50 like he used to.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know. He's really put work in the gym. He's slimmed down. He's doing all the shooting drills. He's doing all the dribbling drills. He doesn't play much defense, but that's okay. He doesn't pass really... Well, he does if he's double-teamed, so you have to give him credit there. He passed when he has to. And that can give, Tobias... he won't have to worry about defense in Orlando. He can just tell Oladipo and Tobias Harris and Vucevic... and he doesn't ever have to pass. He can just tell Vucevic to get all the rebounds. So, I think Gilbert, with Jacques Vaughn, can make magic happen in Orlando. And I did so many puns right there.
Yeah, I think he's gearing himself for a run. Maybe he fits himself on a summer league team or something. I don't know. He'd be good. He'd be a good pickup for any team who needs shooting and needs scoring. Maybe he goes back to Washington.
Oh, I don't think that locker room would accept him.
You don't think?
I don't think John Wall would like him, honestly. You know why? I think that team. I see the Wizards being special. I really do. I think
Oh yeah, your love for Bradley Beal.
and John Wall. I think that team is young, determined, and Gilbert's goofball, attitude and the way he carries himself may rub off John Wall and Bradley Beal and Gortat the wrong way. And I think even Trevor Booker, I think this will really, and especially Randy Whitman, I think it will really make the Wizards upset. And I don't think Gilbert would be a good fit. I think Gilbert would like the sunshine in Orlando. He loves, the Sunshine State. He wants to get up and down the floor, have fun, shoot a ton. I think Gilbert would love that environment where he can just, play free and loose basketball, and he can just play pickup basketball on the floor.
Yeah, speaking of John Wall, let me give a shout out to a couple guys, Andrew Deanda, Andrew Halsey, and Kennedy Zenon, who think John Wall and Kyrie Irving and guys like Mike Conley are not as good as Isaiah Thomas of the Kings. They think Isaiah Thomas is a very special player.
No, he is, but
they think he's better than Kyrie Irving, which I don't.
Well,
I think Kyrie's a really good player. I don't know why. What's your hate for Kyrie Irving?
No, I'm kidding. I just wanted to see if you would react there. I wanted to try to go all Skip Bayless on you, but
he's that player who still plays the AAU style of basketball. He's gonna try to break the double, get to the basket, get an and one. He's not a player. Oh, double comes, I'm passing it. He's gonna split it, gonna spin move someone, crazy under below the basket shot and one. He just likes that brand of basketball, and I understand it.
But it's not championship basketball.
It's not championship basketball. Like if LeBron wanted, he can just take any defender and drop and dunk on him if he wanted to.
Wait. So you're saying that? No, I disagree with you. I think, okay, I understand the takeover part, like with the best player. Like, I understand you think that they have to take over, and I agree with you. At some points they do, but there becomes takeover and then out of control. And I think sometimes Kyrie gets out of control. But I think the people that you mentioned, your friends that you mentioned, look, I love the way Isaiah Thomas plays, but he is not in the Kyrie, John Wall category. Look, John Wall just elevated his game to a different level. And I know you think I'm crazy with all this John Wall love.
I like John Wall.
Oh, you do? Okay, well.
I think he's one of the better young point guards in the league. I wouldn't put him in that first tier with, Westbrook and Chris Paul and Tony Parker. And, I guess we can throw in Rondo. But, Derrick Rose, he's out of there. But he's in that second tier. Him, Kyrie Irving, Lowry, Mike Conley, Ty Lawson. Those guys are really good up-and-coming point guards, and they're young, too. And they've had relatively healthy careers. Well, Lowry's kind of old, but besides him, they've had relatively healthy careers.
I agree, and I also appreciate Isaiah Thomas's leadership, too. He seems like a guy well in control, even when these tough times are happening. To me, this really shows a sign that maybe if he does go to a championship team, he can really be a solid voice in the locker room. And I think you have to give a lot of credit to Isaiah Thomas for that. I just want to give a last shout out to this guy. And I feel bad for him. I think he will be the next shooting guard next year. And that's Mr. Toronto. That is Mr. DeMar DeRozan. And
oh my gosh, no.
The criticism that this guy gets is beyond... you can't even comprehend how bad the criticism is, the national media. It seems like the American media hates the Raptors. I don't know why. I mean, ESPN doesn't even credit the Raptors for anything. NBA TV didn't give DeMar DeRozan enough credit. DeMar, he goes in the gym and puts the work in. He lives, eats, breathes, sleeps, drinks basketball. I don't know if you saw the tribute video of DeRozan, and he was working in the gym, and it was showing the evolution of DeMar DeRozan from a rookie to now, and it's just so incredible. This guy has such an ability, and he can take this team 5 years down the line to a championship level.
Do you think he's on the same level as Vince Carter in Toronto, or he's better?
I think he'll be better than Vince Carter in Toronto. I just said that.
Because Toronto, they loved Vince Carter. I don't see that. I don't think I see that same way with DeMar DeRozan. Maybe it's because he's not as showy and he dunks, but he doesn't have the same trampoline hops that Vince Carter has.
He has such a great work ethic.
He does. He has a great game. He loves that. He has that mid-range game. He has to work on his three-point shooting a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing, he gets to the line a lot.
Yeah.
And that's one thing you have to admire about him is he gets to the line a lot of time, which is good because you know that if he's able to get to the line, he can open up the rest of his game. That you know he can drive to the basket. Now he can get the screen and pull up the mid-range off the pick. You know, and I think Kyle Lowry really compliments him. And that Lowry can shoot it. Lowry's a better slasher than he is a shooter. And Terrence Ross is there for the kick out three and the dunk. Maybe he's picking up some tips from Gilbert Arenas saying, hey, you can just launch some threes, because he was doing a lot of 3-point shooting in this season. He was launching them. Maybe he had Gilbert Arenas in his ear saying, can just pull up. And maybe had DeMarcus saying, hey, if you want to get a tee out there for me or something like that.
Oh, man.
I had to take one shot at him.
Oh. I mean, you make some good points with DeMar and Toronto. I think, you know what? I want to live and see the day where the Raptors win the championship. I really do. I want to see how the American media reacts.
I think they'll be kind of bitter towards it.
Really?
At first, then kind of accept it.
You think Skip Bayless will completely dismiss it?
I think especially if they Eastern Conference Finals, they beat a beloved team, in the finals they beat another beloved team the NBA just loves, then I think it'd be even worse. Like NBA, the media where is this team coming from? And kind of get a little defensive about it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there'd be a lot of jokes on, hey, stay on your side of the border. And,
all that junk. Now,
they're a couple pieces away, I think. I don't think they got as big of a development as they wanted to from Valanciunas. I don't think they got what they really wanted from him. I think he had a good year. I don't think they got what they wanted from him. Their bench is decent. I think they're missing one more bench piece.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, and I've heard some rumors about this, about Rondo to Toronto. I really have heard some rumor, and it was even mid-season rumors, and that it would be a 3-team trade, and it would be Rondo to Toronto, Lowry to the Knicks. Do you really see that as a possibility? Because if the Celtics don't get Kevin Love, and if Rondo expresses unhappiness, the trade could be a possibility, and then now you could find Toronto having a even better point guard than Lowry, and now all of a sudden Valanciunas and Ross and DeRozan and now Vasquez can all of a sudden burst out onto the scene.
But I think without Lowry, you still lose. Because I'm not going to say 3 years ago I would have said this, but I'm not going to say Rondo doesn't know how to score the basketball like he did say 3 years ago. But I think you just lose a lot of offense without Lowry.
Yeah.
I mean, it works for Boston. Boston gets a good point guard, and maybe they'd also have to give up their first round pick. But I think you lose a lot of offense. I think you put a lot of pressure on DeRozan, and I think that's gonna force him to take bad shots.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to see. I don't want to see a shooting guard turn from a good shooting guard to a very inefficient shooting guard.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about it that way, and I also have to say this too. You know, I'm a little disappointed in just, I know I'm saying the American media, but I think like we don't credit the other like great players that are not in big markets. Like I don't really consider Toronto a big market because we don't talk about, like, Americans don't talk about Toronto enough. I think like we don't credit Bradley Beal enough. I don't think we credit guys like that. I don't think we really gave enough credit to maybe a Monte Ellis in his career. I think we don't really appreciate him, and I don't get it because we're just all big market. I mean, we gotta love James Harden. We gotta love honestly, if you look at James Harden, is he really that efficient? Is he really as efficient as Bradley Beal? Is he really as efficient as DeMar DeRozan? I mean,
they're different type of players because Harden's on a team where I know you don't like it, but he is the number one option. Beal's on a team where he's the number two, at times three if Nene or Gortat is going, whichever one. And then DeRozan is
the number one option.
Yeah, it's just I I see what you're saying about Beal and the NBA. I think the NBA is forced. They're kind of forcing their hand on giving those smaller market teams like nationally televised games. Like we don't really want to, but we kind of have to be fair. Here you go. If they wanted to, they put a bunch of Heat. They put a bunch of Heat, Spurs,
Heat, Pacers,
Rock. They love the Rockets.
Yeah.
There are four teams they love: Rockets, Lakers, Clippers, and Heat.
Yes.
They could play those games all the time. They would. If they could say, "Move over, Law and Order. We got an NBA game on," or "Move over, Sports Center. We have a big NBA game on." They play those four teams. They love those four teams.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's kind of forced to put a team like Utah or like a Minnesota, like you said, a Washington or Toronto.
Yeah.
It's like we don't really want to, but we kind of have to because every team is guaranteed like a nationally televised game. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Every team is guaranteed a national game. Like a national televised game. You make a good point because, like, the majority of games are between those four teams, right? And then, like, they just throw in Utah. They just throw in these bad matchups once in a while instead of throwing, a Washington in there, Toronto. You look at even the Pelicans. I think they're entertaining. I really do. I just I'm disappointed in overall that the way we treat just the NBA players in general. Like, I don't think it's fair to call Dwight Howard a coward. Like, in my opinion, I don't think you don't think so. I think. I'm happy you said that.
I don't like the way like the last couple years went down, but he made a decision. He wasn't happy in LA, so like he said, used LA as a rental and just returned us at the end of the season and went to Houston. And NBA TV tries to do their best to get some of those smaller games on, but
yeah,
to be quite honest, no one really watches NBA TV.
Well,
not a lot of people watch it.
Not the average fan.
Not the average fan.
Yeah.
They try their best to get the games like the fan night. The fan night always turns out to be just a team with a huge fan base getting on there against a lesser team usually.
Well, I like it when they. I like it when it's not fan night. Sometimes they'll show not Saturday games, but like maybe they'll show like a Wednesday game if ESPN doesn't have something, or like a Friday game, or like I like those games.
Saturday games too, like you said, they have Saturday games like 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock sometimes,
or even some early morning, early afternoon. I like that because they're actually like entertaining games. I wish that America, because I personally think that internationally people know more about basketball than America in a sense, because America, like, I think we, like, you know how in the NFL, like, NFL games, we're so educated about the NFL. The NFL goes out of their way to educate people. They have tons of shows, all the networks explaining play by play. We don't have that enough in the NBA. And it's unfair because then we create these perceptions about players and we say this player's horrible and all this. And it's like media propaganda by guys like, Skip Bayless going crazy, or I don't know. There's so many bad NBA pundits,
Yeah.
And I think that's all I have to say. That's my big rant. It's like my Jeff Van Gundy rant for today. But do you have anything else? Do you have any more shout-outs before we go?
No, I think you got it all right on the head.
That's it. In the paint, NBA Finals Game 2 tied up 1-1 between the Heat and the Spurs. They're going to be back in Miami, I believe, on Tuesday. Is that right?
Is it? Yeah, it's Tuesday because they gave them a one-day travel day.
Yeah. So
that's kind of interesting how they gave them a 2-day break for the game that stays in San Antonio and a 1-day break for the travel day. For the game in Miami. That's kind of interesting how they did that.
Maybe they want San Antonio to win. No, I'm just kidding. That's it for In the Paint. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.